So would you say, Lisa, that listening to your intuition is how you got to Bolivia or South America?
Yes. Well, it's definitely how I got into nutrition coaching and being a digital nomad. And being here in Bolivia slash in South America now is certainly part of that. So my first stop in South America or in Latin America rather was Mexico 2021, mostly because during that time with the pandemic going on, so many countries still had really harsh requirements in terms of who would be able to enter and who wouldn't. And Mexico was very flexible. And so I went there, I fell in love with like the Latin American culture and started learning Spanish. And my Spanish teacher, so this was online, she was located in Colombia. So I then migrated more or less to Colombia, trying to get a longer term visa there and just doing some trips, like weekend trips or other shorter trips from Colombia, since it's a wonderful central location in Latin America. And one of those trips was to Bolivia, and I was only here for about 4 days, but the guide kept telling me, "Oh, Lisa, I think you would really like a city called Santa Cruz. It's really warm. It's kind of like considered the Miami of Bolivia." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, sure, sure." I didn't really listen to it that much, but then I got back to Colombia, and a few days later, I got the notification, "Oh, we're not approving your visa. You have to leave the country within 10 days." I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
shoot." And what do I do? And I remembered the guide telling me just a few days prior, like, I think you would really like Santa Cruz. I think you would really like staying here for longer. There's quite a few digital nomads. So I was like, I guess I'm gonna do that. I've never been there. So I went there and have been loving it ever since.
amazing. And so your work allows you to travel around. You're a digital nomad. Can you share with us what it is that you do?
Yeah, I'm an online nutrition and fitness coach, mostly nutrition coaching. That's really the main quote unquote vehicle that I use to try to change people's lives in a positive way, because I feel like food should be something that brings us joy and adds to our lives and helps us enjoy our lives more rather than something that brings us guilt, that we stress about, that we worry about, where we feel worse and worse in our body. And I've decided I want to make that my mission in life, because I struggled with food for a long time myself. Like I went through various different diets. I was never really overweight, but when I finished high school, I went on like a trip around the world. And within that 1 year, I gained about 20 pounds. And for the first time in my life, I was like, oh crap, what do I do now? You hear all these different diet about all these different diets, and of course you see your mom and your parents, like how they treat food. And I remember my mom was doing like this horrible cabbage soup diet every single year, starving herself, like things like those were strategies that I came to my mind when I thought of weight loss. And at that point I then had started my studies in exercise science, health promotion, and a minor of it was nutrition. But believe it or not, Jessica, in that university degree, we didn't really talk about like how to approach weight loss in a healthy way. Yes, you were told like these foods are quote unquote good, these foods are quote unquote bad, but it wasn't like, hey, if you want to lose 5 kilos in 3 weeks or in 3 weeks in 3 months, this is how you go about it strategically. Nobody ever said that. And so I was just like, huh. Okay, I'm gonna listen to my professor here. She hates anything with fats. Everything has to be low fat, low fat, low fat, low fat. So that's what I started doing. That was like, she was really old school, like 90s sort of mindset. And then the
Mhm.
next professor that I had, she was like completely the opposite. She was like really low carb, almost keto type approach. I was like, oh, okay, this is weird. So I basically started cutting out fats and carbs. I was left with just eating like vegetables and protein, and really felt super restricted. Always started just planning like my weekend binges and like getting back on track on Monday because I felt like I had fallen off the wagon or whatever, like this kind of like unhealthy all or nothing mindset. And I then also started working out even more. Like I started doing CrossFit, so high intensity work. And at some point, I remember standing in a food court in Thailand. That was during my honeymoon at the time. And my ex-husband and I, we had just finished a really hard workout. And I was starving, like literally starving. So I was standing in this food court and I just started to cry because
Oh,
every stall or place that I saw, I felt like I couldn't eat anything there. One place, like everything was with rice. The other place, everything was deep fried. Another place, everything things had sugar in it. So I was like, I can't eat anything of this because I had placed so many food rules upon myself where I was just feeling so restricted. And I truly felt like there had to be a better way to look the way that I wanted to look and at the same time live a life that I enjoy living because I'm a social person. I like to travel and enjoy and explore. And for me, food is more than just fuel. It is how to bring people together. It is culturally, it is, there's a story behind it. And so like there has to be a way to enjoy that while also enjoying your body. I don't think you have to pick one or the other. And I just had that intrinsic like desire within me to find out what that was. And I kept looking and just really wanting to approach it from a logical perspective as well, as opposed to just randomly cutting out food groups as I had done in the past, or trying paleo or trying, you name it. And by, you want to call it a chance or you want to call it by guidance, I found an article and that was titled "How Donuts Gave Me Abs and an 80 kg Snatch." So for those of you listening that are not like in the CrossFit world, 80 kg snatch just means like a really heavy lift. So basically, I thought to myself, I want to have donuts without guilt. I want to have abs and I want to be strong. How do I do that? So I read the article. It was written by an athlete. Her name is Nicole Capurzo. And that she basically also explained that she had for years and years, she was just living in that like clean food eating, but always feeling kind of like deprived or feeling guilty if she would eat pizza or brownie or something. And then her coach just said to her, well, listen, Nicole, technically speaking, any kind of weight gain or weight loss due to physiological reasons just comes down to physics, meaning if you eat more calories than what your body is burning, you're going to gain weight. If you eat less, you're going to lose weight. And technically speaking, what you comprise that of is not that important or is secondary. Let's put it that way. Yes, of course, for it's going to matter how energized you feel or how well you're digesting or how satiated you are depending on what you eat. But if you have a calorie target, and if you kind of have a target for how much protein, how much carbs, and how much fats, you can technically fill that with bread, and you can also have fruit in there, and you can have a bit of brownie in there, as long as you also have your eggs and and chicken, or some other protein and fat sources. And so for me, that was like, whoa, that makes so much sense. I had never like calculated how much my body really needed. Yeah, and I just thought, you know what, like even if it sounds really tedious weighing my food out for a little bit and tracking my food or registering my food in an app or so, I have tried so many things and they felt terrible. This is like, I'm just gonna give it a go. And honestly, it didn't take very long until my body started changing. I like finally looked like I was working out before, because before that I was working out tons, but my body didn't look like it. Had no definition. And much more importantly, I actually just felt food freedom. I always call it food freedom because I for finally didn't feel like I needed to, or things were off limits. Like even silly things like I just sometimes I like cereal, not necessarily for breakfast, but like as a dessert or or bread or so. Like bread was on my off limits list as well. And so I was just like, huh, I can have this slice of bread. I'm not fat the next day. That's so strange. Or I can have cereal for dessert if I really want to, and I'm still not waking up fat. So basically from that point onwards, I was trying to learn as much about nutrition coaching as possible. I got more certifications, did my master's and so on, and have been teaching people how to lose body fat and gain muscle, and so therefore looking more like they're actually working out or more the way that they want to, and how to improve their relationship with food ever since.
Yeah, when you were starting talking, you were mentioning the story and you're in Thailand. I was like, I felt emotionally sad. Like I've been in that position too, where you're just like, oh, I like this isn't available to me because I have done this to myself and kind of created like a warped reality that you can then see. And when you can see that you've created this construct, it's like almost like being outside of it. And you're like, oh, now I can change it because I can see what I was doing and I couldn't see what I was doing before.
That's so beautifully put, kind of like creating that metacognition where you like think about how your thoughts at that point, or even
Yeah.
just how to get out of it. And I hear exactly that from so many of my clients as well, not necessarily like specifically related to travel, because maybe people don't travel as much as I do, but even more so in the sense of being social, or like let's just say like going for date night with your husband. If you want to have a glass of wine, like, oh, is this good, is this bad, can I make that work if I want to lose weight? And I learned that the answer is yes, of course it should be moderated. And we talked a little bit about alcohol before we hit recording, more so for the sense that it's really not satiating. And so if you drink a lot of alcohol, your body basically doesn't, number one, doesn't really know what to do with that energy, because it's not a proper fuel source for exercise or whatever, and it is registered as a toxin in your body. And number two, because again, like if you drink your calories, whether that is through alcohol or let's say Coca-Cola or whatever, um, it's not something where your body needs a lot of processing, and so you have nothing in your stomach, and it's going to continue sending you hunger signals. So people normally automatically eat more. Add to
Mhm.
that alcohol makes us relax more, so we're like, oh yeah, what the heck, let's just have the whole pizza, you know. So that makes it challenging. But going back to the story, in my view, nothing should be like forbidden unless you're really like intolerant to it, or unless you choose for ethical reasons not to eat a specific thing like meat or so. But it is
Mhm.
absolutely fine to say like, hey, once or twice a week, I'm going to enjoy a glass or two of wine with my husband. I'm going to build that into my budget for the day, and I don't need to feel guilty about it. I'm literally able to be present, be with this person. And that's another thing that I have found through this, is like it allows me to not be so food focused in social settings, and rather think, okay, I've already kind of like got an idea of what I'm gonna select there. I'm gonna make this about the conversation. I'm gonna make this about catching up with that person that I haven't seen in months, as opposed to secretly, subconsciously stressing about, oh no, there's nothing good on the menu, blah blah blah, or no, they're trying to be a food pusher, and I've had a third plate of this, I feel guilty or so. So it's just sort of, for me, it's always important that we just make conscious decisions, regardless of what is. Every now and then, a client will say, "Oh, Lisa, I feel bad. I ate more than I was supposed to yesterday." I'm like, "Well, did you enjoy it?" Yes. What are you feeling bad about exactly? And most of the time they say that they feel like food took over and it was not a conscious decision. But if we head into it, and if you're in that moment and you're like, no, I really want that burger and the fries today, I don't like, I'm going to consciously choose to eat a little bit more, and that's fine. And then there's nothing to feel guilty about. So I think regardless of what we choose, it should always feel conscious, and not that we're getting out of control and that the food is taking over.
Mhm. Mhm. I would love to hear some. This is like what I work with people on with as well, but specifically for their alcohol use. So I think I would love to hear some more in ways that you help people like reshift their mindset around like when to stop. Not necessarily it's like okay now no more, but like how do you coach people into like okay now it's time to stop. Like I've had two glasses of wine, or like I've gone back for the thirds on the cheese plate or
Mhm.
whatever it may be. What's like some advice that you give your clients of like, okay, like how can they talk to themselves or how can they flip that in the moment so that it doesn't end up being that something took over, that they can
Yeah,
still be
that's a great
present.
question. And I usually start by just talking about, can we make this something special and not something that you need on a daily basis? Because where I see the danger is when people need slash want their glass of wine every night to help
Mhm.
them relax. Then that opens up a window to talk about, okay, why do we need that? Is your day that stressful? Can we lower your perceived stress load from that day? And can we, like, on a regular daily basis, intersect or put something else in place of that wine? Maybe you are deciding, hey, I'm just gonna sit in the hot tub with my husband, and chat for 20, 30 minutes instead of having that glass of wine with him on the couch. Or maybe we can go for a walk, or maybe I can call a friend, like finding other methods to deal with that stress, or even just something as simple as replacing that wine with an alcohol-free soda, or like, or calorie-free soda as well, like something so that you have something in hand. So it's just it doesn't work if we think we're just going to get rid of a habit without addressing the root cause
Mhm.
of it, or
Mhm.
without replacing it with something else, something healthier. So that's kind of point number one. And once we've come to a point where they agree, yes, I can make that something special. So again, like that once a week date night, or I'm gonna choose to just drink alcohol when I'm invited to a birthday party or a dinner outing or something like that. It makes it, even just the whole notion of it makes it more special, makes it more something, like when you talk to your child and you're allowing them to have a treat, but only at a specific time or on a specific day on Sundays, or like it's more valued than if you have it on a daily basis. So that's kind of where it starts. And the second thing I then usually encourage is that even then, can we set a drink limit where you usually know you feel best? So instead of just saying like, oh, whatever, I'm gonna see how I feel in that moment, that's not a good strategy, because very likely you're gonna loosen up and you're gonna, it lowers inhibition. So you're just, if someone offers you that third, fourth drink, you're probably gonna be like, yeah, okay. But if you beforehand decide two, I know with two I feel great, I feel relaxed, I am a good conversationalist, I am, happy. Three sometimes already tips the state of mood that I'm in. I'm gonna limit it to two. And if you become like the two drink kind of person, it makes it easier anyway to stick with that. And I also feel like just learning to be more firm with your responses, because very often it is that people, quote unquote, push the alcohol or the food on
Sure.
us, and yeah, just have
Stop
another
the
one. Oh,
offering.
come on, you're not drinking today.
Yeah.
Like, you're not working tomorrow. But if you can learn, and that applies to food as well, if you can learn to say no more firmly, or just say like, hey, no, thank you. I don't want any more. I feel great the way that it is. I know that this would tip me over. If you come from a place of I feel, no one
Mhm.
can argue with that. If you're like, yeah, I don't think I should, sort of thing,
Yeah.
that leaves room for negotiation. And the next person that wants you to be a bit more tipsy, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, just a little bit, right? But if you just fill your glass with water or some other alcohol-free drink, instead you have something in your hand, then it's not as inviting for other people to push things on you. Now, if
Mhm.
it comes from your own place, I guess, and you're not, like, you're tempted to want more, I also say, let's make sure we're still eating somewhat well with that alcohol. So yes, you might want to have more of the pizza and so on with the wine, especially because we're craving more carbs or fatty things. But can we first make sure that we are eating some vegetables and some protein, because that's going to help more with satiation. Our stomach has more to digest, as opposed to going to a social invite completely starving, and then you only find the cheese board or whatever, and yeah, you're really just kind of like peckish and wanting more. So I think it's all about like having a bit of a plan beforehand. And while that doesn't sound like freedom to a lot of people, like sometimes when I start talking about this with people, they're like, you talk about food freedom, but actually, you ask people to record their food intake, you ask people to plan ahead. Well, as time goes on, they've then find out that having some structure, having some guidelines, and being clear on your priorities and your values actually creates freedom later on in the moment when you actually want it, because it takes out that guesswork, and you're just like, no, I'm the person who only drinks two drinks, only, on special occasions or twice a week. It's not even a negotiable. So yes, that's sort of where I would start.
I think you made some like really good points. But writing things down initially is so powerful, because then it gets it, you're not swimming around in your thoughts and like negotiating with yourself and debating and rationalizing what you're going to do. Like, it's out on the paper, you can see it. It's like it's outside of you. It's not just something that's hidden that you can then be sneaky about.
Y-
I think
Yeah,
that's
it's
like a
almost like a contract with yourself.
yeah, 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 yeah. Evidence.
Yes, that's it.
But it's like putting in that initial work is what does give you freedom later on. It's not like you're going to do it for the next 30 years of your life, but like initially, if you're trying to change a habit, it's very, very helpful to write it out. Not to police yourself, but like just you're not bullshitting yourself. Like you drank 6 glasses of wine last night. You know what I mean? Like, so like write that down and like, and see that and accept that. And that's how you can change things because then it's not hidden. It's not hidden from you. It's
Yeah,
become something
absolutely.
that's
No, they also say that like you can't change something that you're not aware of. So
no
again, like if you
way.
have no idea, and that
Absolutely.
applies to alcohol, applies to calories, applies to like even if you have a spending habit or like whatever other habit that you want to change, anything that you become aware of, that's step number one. And the research also shows that if we write things down, whether it's a manifestation goal or any other goal that you might have, just the act of writing it out makes it so much more likely that you are achieving it.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, for sure. Okay, that was a really good point. I'm going to reiterate some things that you said just in case people didn't catch them. Um, the I feel statement is really powerful when when you are, and not that everyone's being a pusher, or there's one, I won't say his name, but there's one guy who kind of does what I does, but it's like abstinence is the only way. And these smiling assassins are going to come hand you a drink. And he's like referring to your friends and family who are offering you alcohol. And to me, I'm like, don't call people, they're not smiling assassins. They like want to, it's a positive intention most of the time that people want to include other people in what they're doing as a way of communion and community. Nobody wants to murder you, hopefully not, when you're just having
No.
time with people. um
Well,
to
oh,
take
sorry, go
power. Well, I want to recap what you said. It's like they're not smiling assassins. They're friends and family usually who just want to feel like, okay, we're bonding. Like I'm doing this, do this with me. But when we're changing a habit, it's really our responsibility to like feel what that feels like to kind of step back from the crowd a little bit because that's where you really get that's where change work comes in. If we're always doing what we see and what we've always done and we're a sheeple and we're comfortable and whatever, like nothing will change at all. It's that moment of discomfort of like, oh, it's a little bit of a risk here. Like Becky might be mad that I don't want a third glass of wine, but like, how might that make me feel? And just to try that on, what you mentioned is really helpful. So if you're listening and this is you, take Lisa's advice and use the I feel statement because nobody can tell you how you feel. But people can argue with it is a good idea or it's not a good idea or whatever kind of rationale or logic might come of like, I'm trying to be better. It's like, fuck you. No, you're not. Like, we're partying together. Trying to be better than who. Some of those things can be offensive as well. But if you just say, I feel with a truthful statement that follows that, you might inspire somebody else, and like they are 99% gonna respect what you said and not try to get you into whatever they're doing.
Yeah, you're raising so many great points, and I mean, like that applies to food really a lot. And I think we all know that grandma and mom, whatever, whose love language just is food, for instance.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so a lot of people, especially women, want to show their love through food. And so, for instance, my grandma, she's someone who's like, "Oh, Lisa, you've only had 2 plates of this. You didn't like it. Clearly." I'm like, "Grandma, I have had enough. Thank you. I'm gonna take thirds to go home." But like teaching
That is,
her that me enjoying this plate, that wonderful plate that she made for me, it has nothing to do with the quantity that I'm consuming on the day, or like 1 plate of something might even be more delicious than having 3 of it because you truly enjoy every single bite. It took a
mm,
while, but that's to the point of like communicating with people and communicating from a loving place and just saying like, I
mhm.
really appreciate you making this for me. It's so delicious. I really enjoy it. Maybe you can show me how you made that next time and we can cook it together, I can learn something, or I can take something home, or, something like that, as opposed to just saying like, oh, I'm on a diet, I can't have that. That's just, it comes from such a
Oh,
hurtful place. Or
yeah.
she would also just say like, oh, you're skinny as it is, you don't need to eat, you don't need to be on a diet. Most grandmas probably say that, but that's not very helpful at all if someone wants to change their life and wants to lose a little bit of body fat. And I think there, what can also strengthen that new identity that we're creating through the change of weight loss is just having more visual reminders of like who we really want to be, starting our day with a positive mantra, or for example, curating who we follow on social media and so on, so that we have that positive influence that just reinforces over time, I'm trying to change to become this better version of myself from a loving place, as opposed to setting a weight loss goal and then kind of over time losing your why, losing the fact that you need to truly create a new identity if you want to make the change stick. Because as a whole nation, like, we're all actually pretty good at losing weight. What we're not good at is maintaining that. I think it's like 92% or something like that of people who successfully lose weight, they put it back on and then some. And that's not just because of Ozempic or whatever new drug. That's been a thing for many, many years, probably always, just because we don't create that new identity that we really need to adapt fully. And that might mean no longer being the person that drinks on a daily basis and only on special occasions. That might be learning to not stress eat or emotionally eat at night on the couch with your chocolate and your ice cream, and instead learning to call a friend, do some yoga, enjoy a cup of tea and a couple of pieces of chocolate instead, but not that whole like sort of dealing with your stress that way. So I think that is the biggest part. And most of the time when people choose or decide to lose weight, they don't often acknowledge that they truly need to adapt a new identity, become actually a new person, the person that goes to the gym, the person that enjoys eating healthy, the person that puts energy and time into their food planning, social planning, whatever it is. And sometimes it's just a matter of time as well. But if you have the resistance from your family around it, it really does also make it harder. So having those conversations with your partner of like, hey, honey, you know what, I've decided I want to eat a little bit better and look after my body a bit more because I want to be around you and the kids for longer. So just to let you know, I'm going to make a few changes. I'm not expecting you to change with me. If you feel like you want to join in, you are more than happy to, but I just wanted to let you know that. And I think that is a good starting point because otherwise, often what we actually see is that the partner in specific subconsciously or sometimes consciously, but usually subconsciously sabotages a little bit the weight loss. That's when they come home with the pizza and the extra donuts. Oh yeah, I just drove by and needed to get that or so, and you're like, oh, but I was on a diet or whatever. Like, if you come from that place, it's just not good. But if it usually is more a sign of them being afraid that they're gonna lose you because you're changing and they might think they're no longer good enough. So having also those continued conversations throughout the whole change, really important. And just reiterating, has nothing to do with you. I love you as you are. You don't need to change with me. I'm just wanting to improve some things within myself.
Mm. Heard very similar stories with my clients where like the husband will bring home their favorite wine or like alcohol. They're not even doing it on purpose, but it's like this becomes a bit of an unknown. There's like a mystery factor to identity shifting and doing it intentionally. And people who it's not happening to can feel like, oh, this person's like leaving this relationship as we know it. But it's really like a reframe of evolving, evolving and acceptance, and they go hand in hand. So, like what you were mentioning earlier is like the self sabotage that can be brought upon by other people, but it's a what I look at self sabotage, and maybe you differ and tell me if you differ in the way that you, because I'm sure you see it when people are like, oh, I was going really great, I was going to the gym, I was drinking my tea at night, you know, writing down what I was eating and noticing my balance. And then On Friday, I stayed up till 2 in the morning and had like Grubhub come to my house, and like I woke up and didn't know what happened. And it's like, well, what did happen? And like, let's not wash that over, because those are the really important moments that I think people are like, let's just move on from that as fast as possible.
Mhm.
Like, no, that's where it's at. That's the thing for you. Like, yeah, you're going great. You just prove to yourself that it's possible. And then this like flare up happens, and like, what really happened in there? And in my work, I find that it's like a piece of the psyche, or like a part of the subconscious is like, I feel threatened now. Like, this change is either too fast, too much, or it negates me. It's not acknowledging this part of me, which in thinking culture is usually like a rebel self, or a wounded child, or some part that's like, oh, you're getting all high and mighty now, but you like forgot all about me. Well, guess what? Like, I really like to eat tacos until 3. And like, when you see this happen with your clients, because is this a pattern that you notice as well?
100%, yeah.
What are your techniques and your protocols for helping people see that and integrate it, as opposed to being like, oh, well, let's just like make sure that never happens again, 'cause it does.
Yeah, I love how you just said that that is something that comes up then we don't want to brush over it because it's so, so important for people to hear that. Not to, yes, we want to move on, we want to focus on the future and instead of like feeling guilty and beating ourselves up about something, that's not what we're talking about, but really reflecting on what was going on throughout the day. Where was it just like loading up from the whole entire week, or did you have a bad like a conversation with your boss and something happened there? Sometimes also this kind of rebel moment almost where you're like, oh, screw it, I just want to do whatever I want and break out. It often just means you have too much rigidity throughout the week where people are like, I was doing so well Monday through Friday and then on the weekend.
Yeah.
But it is probably because you didn't allow yourself or plan for moments throughout the week that you where you could also let go a little bit, where you could also feel like you had that freedom to choose. They're so structured from like 5 a.m. to, I don't know, head hits the pillow at night and it just go, 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 go. So when the weekend comes around, you're like, I don't want to follow Lisa's rules. I don't want to follow Jessica's rules anymore. I'm just gonna raise the middle finger to the world here and do whatever I want because I can. So it really is like building in more freedom, more flexibility, more of who you really are into the week, wherever or however possible, so that when that weekend comes around, you no longer feel like you're completely losing control. But yeah, it is really so important for us to continue to like make or keep that awareness of when we're leaving the comfort zone and how much we're pushing. Because that's the other thing, like if we're trying for too much too quickly, it's no wonder that your old self is trying to pull you back. I usually say when we have setbacks, quote unquote setbacks like the one that you were describing, it's actually a good thing because it means you're growing. Like if the person the next day then messages me or you and says, oh, I messed up. I don't even know how much I truly ate on that night or so. It's like, okay, cool. Well, in the past, this probably happened, on a monthly basis or maybe every weekend. Now, after 2 months, you are acknowledging this and you are acknowledging that you don't want to go back to the person that you want to be. Awesome. You might have another setback in 6 months, maybe then 2 years after that. And so these, like I call them retraction periods where your old self is just trying to pull you back into comfort zone. They're more like little tests and you're gonna withstand those tests more and more and more, but every now and then you maybe won't, and that's okay. Just acknowledging that, but also seeing how much you have grown from one to the next and seeing that really as an opportunity or as something to be proud of, really.
Yeah. Yes.
But yeah, I do want to actually like because I don't think I fully answered your question in regards to like how to deal with that even more specifically. So yes, in a very practical way in terms of food, the next day I usually just say, if you feel super gross about yourself, number one, don't exercise to work something off. That's not what we're wanting to create. But if you feel like going for a walk, still go or going to the gym from a loving place because you're like, oh, I just want to digest a little bit. I want to feel better about my body. I'm doing this because it feels good. Go for it. I also just say you're probably not going to be as hungry on that day, don't over restrict consciously and be like, oh, I'm going on this 1200 calorie diet. From now on, I'm going to work out 7 days a week and da da da. This is not the time to make a proper plan. Just eat a little bit intuitively and meaning like lighter things, again, vegetables, fish, chicken, that kind of thing, soups, and so on. But then after that, just go back to the original plan. Really, we don't want to beat ourselves up and stay in that place. And what I think from a prevention point can work quite well, like to the point of DoorDash and delivery services and so on. And you're laughing, but I mean this is so
Oh,
relevant. I think more and more
oh,
people are really, yeah, are really like so almost hooked to these apps. And James Clear in Atomic Habits is probably a book you're familiar with, or probably the listeners as well. He just also even describes that something as simple as like deleting some of those apps, deleting a delivery address in there, deleting certain things that you have on your phone or whatever that are making it more easy for you to have those foods come to your house. That's just one extra barrier that we can put in place. Because of course you can download the app again. You can also go to the store, but it requires you putting on pants and shoes and going out of the house, or it requires you downloading the app. And that's so just having those easier barriers in place, maybe not having a bake night and expecting yourself to not eat a single cookie is also a good strategy, and rather not necessarily keeping overly tempting things in the house unless it's something that you can handle with, and maybe put them in the cupboard or keep things in the freezer and not eating in the kitchen out of the jar, and maybe like just getting out two cookies, sitting down with a cup of tea and enjoying it.
yeah, just taking like that extra step also to create more space between yourself and the impulse. It's like you're just cultivating more mindfulness. It's not like,
Mhm.
no, never again, and don't you dare, and like X's everywhere. It like you're just creating space. It's like you're creating
Exactly.
energetic space and mental space and distance between you and the thing that you feel
Yes,
so attached to. And this is
absolutely.
really, it's like exercising. It's like going to the mental space gym or the
Well,
energetic.
and that space, it just provides the opportunity to break the pattern that you might have had. So to make a
Yeah.
different decision. So by the example of like those cookies that I was saying, if you just take out two and you sit down, having to go back into the kitchen to get out more, that provides you with the opportunity, do I really want another one? Maybe I
Mhm.
can walk one round around the block, and if I still want it when I come back, I'll have another one. But just one. And then like that break, you might come back and be like, actually, I'm pretty good. I should just go to sleep today.
Yeah, that's such a great place to get to. And if you're listening to this and you're like, I can't do that. Yes, you can. It's like, it's really a series of like minute shifts. And then eventually, when you create these little minute places and these like little details throughout the day, make it fun for yourself, right? In a non restrictive mode, in like a loving way, you're doing it as an act of compassion and love for yourself. You look
Yeah,
back and realize, oh my gosh, like, yeah, I'm totally, my decision making process is really different than it was 6 months ago or a year ago.
absolutely. Yeah, and I just love how you're emphasizing that this and that making change and that weight loss um not just can but should always come from a loving place. I think that's where a little bit that whole body positivity movement has been misunderstood, because it's sort of that people saying, oh, no matter what size you're at, no matter if you're really really obese and your health markers are poor, you're perfect as you are. And reality is your soul is, your mind is, and you totally, like, as a human being, it doesn't make you of lesser value or anything. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. But um we should not underestimate how much better we can feel in a body. Like truly, sometimes we're like, oh, I'm it's okay, I've always felt that way, and we just make do with that normal, that mediocrity, or even worse, because it's what we're used to. And I truly think, exactly like you're saying, you can. I truly think everyone listening here has huge potential. I truly think everyone can and should feel happy in their body. Not saying we all need to be of 10% body fat. I think most people probably shouldn't be and wouldn't be as happy because their hormones and everything would be out of whack. But you should be in a body where you're like, you know what? I look good. I feel good. You're going to show up at work differently, for your kids differently. No matter what you do, you're going to show up differently. So if you're listening to this and you feel like you might not be worth it, you cannot achieve it, my body's okay. It's just normal to get fat as you're aging. It's just normal to have a BMI of, 40 or whatever. Maybe that's the norm that you're seeing around yourself because it unfortunately has become normal to be overweight, diabetic, high cardiovascular risk and whatnot. But we should not set our standard that low, and you too truly deserve to live a life that you love, and that includes a body that you love.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think there's a difference too between normal and common. And like
Mhm.
normal is actually a state of homeostasis, but
Yes,
common is like just what you see and you accept as the
that's it.
regular baseline of cultural living, right? So
Yeah,
it's
very good distinction. No, I like that you're distinguishing between that.
yeah, so like just because something's common and like we get a lot of priming, like subconscious priming to accept it, if you're having any sort of like mental internal conflict about like, yeah, this is like totally what I see around me, or like, when I was drinking all the time, I was like, well, everybody drinks this much, right? But like this other part of me was like, you don't feel good, like you have to put two and two together. Is how you're eating or your lifestyle okay, but you just don't feel good? Like, that you could feel better. Therein is the mismatch, right? It's like what I see, and then I have to break out of this sort of matrix of what I see and what I know, and I feel that I'm capable of creating with myself in this body that I'm in, and like our bodies.
Totally.
I grew up religious, so they're like, your body's a temple, but I was like, shut up. But don't talk to me like that. But now
Well, no, honestly, I totally agree.
I agree now because you don't want to listen to what anybody tells you when you're younger. But like, if you don't like the word temple, like your body is your garden, your body is your home environment, or whatever word that makes you feel like, actually, if I had a client was talking about treating her body like her mammal. She was like, my mammal, like, have I taken my mammal today? And I was like, I don't know. Or your pet, your
Yeah.
being, creature. If like you have some othering relationship with it so that you take care of it in a way that you would tend to like your beloved cat, or,
Totally.
or curating a really beautiful space that you're like, I feel like so good in here. It's like, well, your body's the same way, like,
Yeah, well, and this actually like circles around really nicely to what we were saying or what you asked me in the beginning with intuition. So for a long time when I was married and living in New Zealand, I was like technically technically, I should be happy. Technically, like I had a job in the police. I was working in the police at the time. I had a nice husband, but like yeah, it was okay. We had a dog, we had a car. Like everything was like from the outside, quote unquote, perfect. And I was like, why am I not happy? Why is this like why is it nor I literally asked myself several times, like, is it normal for everything just to feel sort of flat? Like everything was
mm,
like ugh. And then like I couldn't the first intuition sort of feeling came up of like there is a different way, and as more things started popping up, I saw these advertisements of like digital nomads traveling around. I was like, oh, that would be so cool. And I then started listening to more podcasts and more like self-development work, and learned more that anything that you see or admire in someone else is actually also available to you. You just need to go and get it. And that was like for me the wake up thing where it just change after change after change started happening, and it was like whoa, I always thought that like feel actually enjoying your life was only available to a few selected people, but
mm,
truly it's available to all of us. So I
mm.
think that's just really important for people to hear over and over again.
Ah, yes, from more and more people, especially people who were a police officer in New Zealand with a husband that they weren't in love with, and now they're in Bolivia and like going to the gym. in Bolivia. Working as a digital nomad. Oh my gosh, it's been so fun to talk to you. We're going to do a second one if you're listening, where Lisa and I are going to talk about female entrepreneurship or whatever else we feel guided to talk about.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on, Jessica.
Oh,
This
for
has been
sure.
fun.
Where can people find you, Lisa, if they want to learn more about you or services that you offer, programs
Sure.
that you
Yeah. So my coaching company is called Nutrition Coaching and Life, and that's my name on Instagram, Nutrition Coaching and Life, or website name, YouTube. I also have a podcast, the Nutrition and Life podcast, where I try to help people with valuable information, hopefully.
I'm sure that you do. We got
Thank
a
you.
wealth of it here. Cool. So thank you so much for being here, Lisa Franz. And I look forward to next time. I
Me
feel
too.
whenever I have a guest, I feel like I take on a little piece. Like
That's awesome.
this might sound really weird, but like I'm gonna be more conscientious of the things that I eat. Because when you get new information or you're inspired by another person, you're like, huh, what would they do right now? Or like, how might they address this? And we're doing that all the time anyway, like, and when we're children, like my kids are watching TV right now and they're all like, I'm that one. I'm the purple headed Lego guy. Like we embody things that excite us and inspire us. So if
Absolutely.
you are someone who's looking to change your lifestyle around food, go to Lisa, alcohol to me. But you can like play with role playing a little bit, like I do that with money. I do it with like style sometimes. People that are like, okay, they're doing it. Let me try on a little bit of that. Like, what's the Lisa essence when I'm at the grocery store? There's a really funny meme though that's like, I hate when skinny me goes shopping and then fat me wants a snack.
I've seen some of those. Yeah, they're
Oh,
pretty
I'm like, it's just so true.
funny.
You, fat and skinny you need to go to the store because you're the same person.
Absolutely.
Go together, get the chocolate cake and get some kale and enjoy every bite of it. Feel how it feels in your body. Check out Lisa's Instagram.
Thank you so, so much.
Yeah, and be like, I love being in this body. And your body, is like a reflection of your feelings and your thoughts and your habits, I would say. I
Mhm.
mean, also there's other factors of like hereditary issues and environment is huge. But like you do have control over at least some of those things.
That's
And
it.
so
Yeah.
this is available to everybody. Everybody, you deserve to feel good in your body and you deserve to feel good about yourself. And please treat yourself with some love and compassion. This has been the Radical Healing Podcast. And if you like this episode, please share it. And also, we'd really appreciate a review with lots of stars and booms and bangs and nice things and stuff like that. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Lisa. See you
Oh,
next.
my pleasure.
And then when Jessica looks for stop recording is like the best part of the episode.
Yeah, always finding that button. Where is it?
I can't find it. Okay. Lisa, it's been so great to talk to you. I'll be in
Yeah,
touch
you
with you
just
next episode.
reach out when you want to schedule another one or whenever this airs, you let me know and I can share it as well. But yeah, I hope you
Awesome.
have a lovely evening.
Cool. You too. Day.
Bye. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. I did.
What's the difference between DIY and doing it yourself? It's the difference between a part-time passion and a full-time business. Wix gives you the power to turn your passion into a moneymaker. With a website that fits your unique vision, let your ideas flow with AI that guides you, but keeps you in the driver's seat. Manage your business from one dashboard and keep it growing with built-in marketing features. It's time to turn your daydream into your dream job. Go to Wix.com.
This is your before and after story. Prepare for an incredible career in nursing. At Southeastern College, experience expert hands-on training. Learn real-world skills in our professional lab and simulated settings. And train for opportunities as a practical nurse, registered nurse, or career advancement with our RN to BSN program. At Southeastern College, your future is bright. Visit sec.edu to get started.